Hi, this is Karen Gaines, your nonprofit finance guide, and today I'm going to talk about the difference between private and public foundations. So, foundations are nonprofit entities that provide funding to other nonprofits in the community. Again, these foundations can either be private or public. While they both provide funding, they vary in several different areas. It's best to understand the differences between the private and public foundations, so you have the best chance of receiving funding if you ever go out and apply for funding from foundations. All right. So let's get started. Let's talk about some of the differences between private and funding foundations. So one difference is the source of funding. When you're talking about a private foundation, it is typically funded by an individual or family. Okay, it typically consists of a really large contribution, a really large donation into that foundation. So just think about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That's a private foundation. It was started by two individuals, Bill and Melinda Gates, and I'm sure it was Bill Gates that contributed a very large sum of money into the foundation. Okay, when it comes to a public foundation is funded by many donors, many individuals, and the funding comes from a variety of different sources. So where the private foundation has like very few funders, public foundation has tons of funders, tons of donors and individuals contributing to it. Okay, so just think of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Make-A-Wish Foundation, they receive funding from a variety of sources in order to fund their operations. Next difference. Let's talk about governance and operations. Now, with the private foundation, again, it's controlled by a small group or family. So, since the funding comes from a small group, family members typically, it's run and it's controlled by a small group or family, typically. Okay, of course, there's always exceptions. They provide funding, of course, to other nonprofits, and also they provide funding to other foundations as well. Okay, but when it comes to a private foundation, their goal is to really decide who gets what funding. Okay, they don't run they don't typically run a program within their foundation, whereas a public foundation, it's controlled by a board of directors, and that and excuse me. And the board of directors is typically represents the community. Okay, and those board of directors are typically rotated out every few years. But with the public foundation, they often run a program. There's often like some type of service that they provide, that they deliver to the folks that need it most, to their members. Okay, so with a private foundation, is controlled by a small group, family, and their sole purpose is to decide who gets what money. With the public foundation, is controlled by the board of directors, and yes, they do decide who gets what money, but also they have a program they run. Okay, so those are the two differences when it comes to governance and operations with private and public foundations. So next is the payout requirement. The payout requirement. So when you're dealing with a private foundation, they are required to pay out 5% of their net assets each year, whereas a public foundation, they don't have the payout rule. All right. Next difference. Taxes, the way the way the taxes are treated for private and public foundation are different. Yes, both are nonprofit, tax exempt, but with a private foundation, they must pay an excise tax on investment income. And again, yes, these foundations are tax exempt, but private foundations are required to pay those taxes, so that they don't really abuse their foundation. Okay, they don't use their foundation to avoid paying taxes. And also, the goal of a private foundation is to donate, contribute to other individuals and nonprofits. The goal is not to accumulate investments. Okay, so that's why they have to pay excess taxes on their investment income. When it comes to public foundations, they are not subject to excess taxes, like a private foundation. Okay. Next difference is the role in the community. So when you're talking a private foundation, they are typically less visible in the community since they are more behind the scenes. They're self-funded. You're not going to see, all these commercials for private foundations, i.e. the Bill and Melinda Gates. They might have a few, but you're not going to see a whole lot of advertisements, marketing, and just noise surrounding the private foundations. However, when it comes to public foundations, they're more visible in the community because they participate in a lot more fundraising activities. They have partnerships. They, again, really have relationships with the community. They have relationships with the folks that make donations and other funders. So you're going to visibly see a lot more of them. Okay, and mainly because they need the public support, so that their foundation can continue operating. All right. So those are just a few of the differences between private and public foundations. When you are looking to apply for foundation funding, it's just good to keep these differences in mind when you are filling out the application. Okay, so I hope this video has been helpful for you. Let me know what you all think. If you're watching via YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching and have a great day.